and this is a pretty funny scene up to a point at least. So he orders Benjamin Button to stand up. Believe in God, stand up, use his power, drop the crutches, drop the wheelchair, stand up and walk on your own feet. I command you. God gives you power to do that. I command you.
Believe in his soul. We are all children in the eyes of God.
Yes.
We are going to get you out of that chair.
My name is Benjamin Button, and I was born under unusual circumstances. While everybody else was aging, I was getting younger. All alone.
You're so young.
Only on the outside.
Hi there guys, welcome back to my channel called Blast and the Past, and this time around I have a video review of the film The Curious Case of Benjamin Button from 2008, directed by David Fincher, starring Brad Pitt and Cate Blanchett. It's not a sleeper. I think it's safe to say that it's a pretty well-known film. It was very acclaimed, it received a lot of recognition at the time of its release, and it got 3 Oscars, so it was also appreciated by the Film Academy at the Oscars, the ceremony, and it is a great epic masterpiece. Probably it may not be to the liking of everybody, so the opinions on this film may vary across the audience, but generally I think it has been praised and it's still remembered fondly even up to this day. So without further ado guys, as always, let's kick it off, shall we? And just for formality's sake, so actually in this case I have 2 Blu-ray releases, so it's a double dip for me. This one I got it first, I haven't seen it at all, this edition, and it's a Scandinavian one. And this one, so I've got it pretty recently, it was a bargain, and this is a deluxe English edition on the Blu-ray disc. So of course the differences are visible, noticeable at first sight. Both of them contain 2 discs, one with the film and the second one with some bonus material. So this is great, this is fantastic, this variety, but let me focus on this one, which is actually in the background, on the telly, on the screen.
Feel things you never felt before.
I'm not sure whether it's visible in the lens of the camera, but there is something special about this deluxe edition, about this release. So it's the lenticular cover. Let me just twist it a little bit, sideways, to the left, to the right. Can you see? The face changes from Brad Pitt to Cate Blanchett and the other way around. So this is really fantastic because the story revolves around those 2 characters. So it's about the story of Brad Pitt, but shown from the perspective of the character played by Cate Blanchett. So this is a very interesting twist to the plot, at the very beginning actually. Oh. And here's just the close-up of this edition, right? You can see it changes dynamically. Wow, it's like morphing, you know, this technology. It's like a bit like morphing, so it looks great. And really, this film generally is dirt cheap, and this one, so it was for pennies, for nothing. So the first one was as well, so none of them have been very expensive, but you know, it's a steal. So even though it's a double dip, the same thing, so it's worth just for the cover itself. And actually, it also has motivated me to finally watch it. Again, not for the first time, but to come back to it, to revisit it. For better or worse, we shall see about it, yeah?
Favorite.
Let me offer you a short summary of the plot. So the story takes place in the present day, so at that time it was 2005. The story takes place in the present day, so at that time it was 2005, when Hurricane Katrina hits New Orleans, and at first we witness elderly Daisy Williams, Cate Blanchett, who is on her deathbed. Her daughter comes to visit her at the hospital, and she brings a book. It's a diary written by a person named Benjamin Button. And then the story is presented from the point of view of Benjamin Button, who is the narrator of the film. And the whole content of this diary, of this book, of the chronicles, is read by the daughter, so she is not aware of this story at all. It's surprising to her, and Daisy Williams has a chance to relive those moments and see how they look like, what they looked like from Benjamin's point of view. As you can clearly imagine, and as you can predict, their fates, their paths are intertwined. Sooner or later,
Finally caught up with each other. Wait.
and there is also an interesting premise to the story. So the hatch is that Benjamin Button is born an elderly man, and he ages backwards, so he gets younger and younger until his infancy. How the story develops, what happens along the way, you just have to see it on your own. You have to experience it on your own. If by some miracle you have not seen The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, you are not aware of how the story develops later on, how the plot thickens, so I would highly recommend you to check it out on your own. If you have seen it, so maybe it's just about time to revisit it, like I have just done it. Maybe it's just about time to come back to this epic masterpiece, this epic film, with a lot of panache, with a very interesting storyline, and with touching, moving moments. Maybe this is the right time to come back to it now.
Now, I had no idea you were coming. Lord, Benjamin.
Currently, as of now, the film holds a very high score on IMDb of 7.8 out of 10, which is remarkable, which is typical only of exceptional motion pictures, of exceptional exponents of cinema. And in this case, most of the people agreed with the general praise. However, there are a few instances of people who were against the picture, who are not the biggest fans of it. Like, for example, Roger Ebert. He gave this film 2.5 stars out of 4, and he claimed that the basic premise of the story, actually it was too crazy for its own good. So it was so unbelievable and against all our principles and the nature of life, the course of events in our normal existence, that generally the idea itself didn't work. And from my point of view, this is actually also an argument against this film. So I've never been a fan of this premise, of this core idea. A man aging backwards, getting younger, so it seems a little bit crazy. Of course it's out of the box, and it's based on a short story by F. Scott Fitzgerald, the author of Great Gatsby. So I know all of this, but still, the premise seems so incredible, so wacky, so out of this world, that I had a very hard time with believing in it. But if you put that thing aside, if you suspend your disbelief, because after all it's a fictionalized story, then I think that you'll enjoy this film much more. Because it's a combination, a mixture, an amalgam, a blend of different genres. There is drama, there is romance, there is fiction like fantasy, there is also a great war epic in the middle of the narrative. So there's everything for everybody, I think. It's a mixed bag, but in a good way. So everybody can enjoy it on a different level, to find a different layer, a different meaning, symbolism. But the principal idea is that you have to accept this structure, the blueprint for this film, which is the idea of a person aging backwards, so getting younger with time, unlike normal human beings. That's exactly what didn't click with Roger Ebert, and probably other critics who followed suit.
Home to farm.
And here's this moment in which this film looks like a war epic, like a war film. You can see, so they are being attacked at this moment by the enemy. Their tugboat is of no match to the gigantic battleships, obviously. And you can see how the scenery, the darkness is lit by the bullets swirling around, cutting the air. And this is a really interesting moment, and it's something out of the box, something which adds to the narrative. It makes it even more interesting. You see, there is a great explosion there of the tugboat, and unfortunately not all of the crew will survive this encounter, as you can imagine. So Benjamin Button, he's one of the lucky ones. But what about the rest of the crew? You have to find out on your own. But trust me, there are many interesting moments like this, in which the character of the narrative changes dramatically and drastically. There are some people who claim that this is a very boring film, tedious. Maybe it's a little bit long because it's 2 hours 40 minutes, the running time. But still, thanks to those subplots like this one, so participating in the Second World War, all of those elements, they make the plot, the film, much more interesting. and entertaining and captivating for the viewer, for the audience. And as always, some technical details, so let me put in my 2 cents in terms of the picture quality, because to me it matters the most. And first of all, so it's presented in its original format, so with the margins here and there at the top, at the bottom. So it's this widescreen format, and it looks very good. So perhaps it was a pretty early release, because the film is from 2008, so the Blu-ray technology, maybe it wasn't fledgling, but it was still not as developed as later on. So I can imagine that it was mind-blowing at that time, the picture quality. Many people rate the picture quality itself as 4.5 out of 5, or even the top score 5 out of 5. So to me it's really okay, really good, really decent, but I've seen better. So it's nothing mind-blowing to me. It has never blown my socks off, so to speak. But of course the picture is crisp, it is sharp, and considering the running time, so maybe it's a good thing that there are 2 separate discs to make more space for the film itself. But you can clearly see the details. Alright, it's now a bit later in the narrative, when Benjamin Button, Brad Pitt's character, is younger, so probably in his 50s, 60s, right? And as we all know, he ages backwards, so he gets younger and younger and more attractive, more handsome. And at the time of the filming, he was 45 years old. Now he's 60. So this is remarkable that he still keeps fit, he stays in shape. Anyhow, so the picture quality, it's really good. For a Blu-ray release, I have no complaints. The format screen, so it's a matter of taste. Yes, it's a developed taste. Either you prefer the full screen or this one. Of course, this one is more cinematic, I suppose. All in all, really, so the colors are there, they are vibrant. For example, here we have this lamp, or during that war scene.
Laboring to finish.
Which we have already had, which I have already covered. So the colors are vibrant and they are great, they are vivid. The flesh tones are okay also. So no complaints from me. It's a very good, solid Blu-ray release in terms of the picture quality as well. Worth recommending, worth having in your collection. For this sole fact only, if nothing else. And the lenticular cover on this one, so this is so eye-pleasing that it's worth having on your shelf just for this effect alone.
He was married to a Creole of Evangeline Parish.
The film was directed by David Fincher, who is known for many marvelous motion pictures. He started with Alien 3, and it was a very problematic production because he would get the script delivered on the set, just on the day of the filming. So I know that he hates that film. There are 2 versions, also the director's cut, which is like a completely different film almost. And of course, later on, so we had the titles like The Game with Michael Douglas, Panic Room, which I like very much, although it's not as praised as his most known films. And Seven, obviously, a very good detective police drama crime film. And we have this one. So it got 3 Oscars for the best makeup amongst the others. And of course, it's worth it.
Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow. Seven.
Unfortunately, many people claim that this is a mere clickbait, this film. So it was produced for Oscars, and for this reason, that there is no magic, is devoid of magic, those harsh critics. Maybe it's not the best contender ever in the history of this ceremony of the Oscar Awards. However, I think that it is a very charming, very moving picture. It helps you in reflecting on your own existence. So, of course, in our case it's a little bit different, but maybe we should learn to appreciate the moments which we have. Seize the moment, seize the day, live our life to the fullest, live up, of course within the limits of reason. But still, in this case, also this romantic element is very important. Because Benjamin Button and Daisy, so they are soulmates. They finally managed to meet at the same point in terms of their age. When he is in his 40s, she is in her 40s. So finally they managed to meet. Their paths finally cross the way they are supposed to do in nature. And this is also a very touching moment as well. And what happens later, so we all know that normally we take care of our children, later on they grow up, and it's the other way around. But in this case, the problem is that an adult and elderly person actually gets younger. So what happens with the partner and what happens with the relationship, well, I guess you can figure it out, but still, nonetheless, it's worth having a look and checking it out, how it's presented in the motion picture. This dilemma, this problem, this issue of finding the convergence point, crossing the paths, and then moving separate ways again in terms of the age. Generally, the film is set in different epochs, so it starts in 1918, after the end of the First World War, with the birth of Benjamin Button in the chronological order, and it finishes in the year 2005. And there are many decades presented throughout the plot, the narrative. So the Roaring 20s, then we have also the 50s, the conformism, we have the 60s, and later on the 80s. So it's all presented through the eyes of Benjamin Button, from his perspective, how everything changes. And this is fantastic because the director, David Fincher, he takes full advantage of it. So he presents all the epochs in a different manner.
I hope you meet people with a different point of view. I hope you live a life you're proud of.
The decorations are fantastic, the set pieces are jaw-dropping, the costumes, the attention paid to the details, and this is great. This is cinematography at its best. And of course, David Fincher is a master of his craft. So he knows how to present everything, how to make the best out of the shots. And the camera movements, they are never too hasty or too slow. The pacing is just fine. Maybe the script itself makes the film a little bit too long for some of the audience. However, I think that still, considering how many things happen along the way, it is a very captivating screening nonetheless.
While the woman was on the phone, Daisy was rehearsing for a performance at the Paris Opera House.
Also, the cast is fantastic, so all of them, they do a great job. Brad Pitt, obviously, he's a typical handsome guy of the Hollywood, but he proves that he's more than a pretty face. He's always been a very talented actor, but some people don't give him enough credit for his skills and abilities. And in this case, so he proved that he's devoted to his craft, to acting. And I know from the pieces of trivia that it took 5 hours every single day of putting on makeup to get him into the role of Benjamin Button at different stages. It must have also been a chore, but regardless of that, he tries to evolve with the character, or devolve rather, regress. It depends on the point of view, which stage we are talking about. And he's very believable and credible in this incredible idea on its own, in itself. And Cate Blanchett also, she's fantastic. She's a good lead, together with Benjamin Button, together with Brad Pitt. Also, she's a ballet dancer. And this is fascinating and incredible that she did all of the figures, all of the dancing scenes, evidently, reportedly on her own. And for example, she lifts her leg like a typical ballet dancer, and again, reportedly, according to IMDb, it is her, not a body double, not a stunt double. So this is really fantastic. So chapeau bas to her, chapeau bas to Cate Blanchett. We have also Tilda Swinton in one of the minor roles. All in all, I think that it's a perfect match. We have a great director, we have a good screenwriter, we have the cast, so everything is there. And all of it is backed by a big budget in the vicinity of $150 million. But the film was a great success at the box office. So it grossed, if I'm not mistaken, around 335. So that was a smashing success. That was a great success. And also this success at the box office, it translated to the success at the Oscar Award ceremony, because it received many nominations and 3 statues.
Brad Pitt for an amazing performance. And of course, David Fincher for giving us all the opportunity to work on this film.
And you can see exactly in this moment what I'm talking about. So he's an elderly man, although he's maybe 2 or 3 years old, hard to say, so or maybe 5, on a wheelchair, barely moving, barely able to move around. And of course then he becomes younger and younger. He slowly gets to this stage when he's around 45, I presume, just like Brad Pitt was at the time of the filming of this motion picture. So this is a very interesting journey, moving backwards. According to Roger Ebert, it doesn't work. I'm not a big fan of this idea either, but I can accept it. As long as the film is done correctly, so some wacky, crazy ideas, they don't bother me that much. And in this case, so definitely, this is worth checking out and worth suspending the disbelief. Suspending it a lot, trust me, suspending it a lot. And even here, you can see that the picture is crisp, but maybe not razor sharp, because it's maybe a little bit blurred, so that's why you have this 4K format as well. Because for many people, connoisseurs, this HD definition, the Blu-ray definition is not enough. It won't suffice anymore. Hence, the 4K format on the home market. However, I'm still even a fan of DVDs, so to me, of course, it would be great to have the best picture quality possible, but I'll accept any film as long as it's in a decent quality. And after all, it's the film itself that matters, not the picture quality, not everything else, not the bonus discs, not the packaging, not the packet, not even this fantastic lenticular cover, yes? Wow, which is so eye-pleasing. And this cover, it is bells and whistles, isn't it? Just bells and whistles. Worth the price of admission. Another fact is that the short story on which The Curious Case of Benjamin Button is based on was adapted for the screenplay by Eric Roth, and he's very well known also for having directed the film called The Fall from 2006. And I've seen it only once, but it's a very magical piece of cinema. I remember, it's a full-blown fantasy film with many spectacular visual effects. And this is great. It's like a piece of a fairy tale presented on the screen. So I don't remember exactly very much the plot, what it was about, but I remember some singular individual scenes, and really, trust me, so it's a visual spectacle, The Fall from 2006. It's a little bit exotic, you may say so, but definitely you can see the inspiration in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. You can see the inspiration from that film in terms of this cinematography, in terms of this cinema magic, how it's projected on the screen. Because after all, this is also a fantasy film, isn't it? So I would highly recommend you to check out The Fall as well, if you have a chance to do so. The music and the soundtrack to The Curious Case of Benjamin Button was composed by Alexander Desplat. I'm pretty sure that I've just butchered the name itself. And also it fits the narrative very well. So it underlines the sad moments, the moments of excitement, of joy. It just fits the film, the narrative perfectly. So hands down, he was the right person in the right place at the right time in terms of having composed the musical score for this picture. And this is a pretty funny scene up to a point at least, because they are in a religious congregation, in a religious meeting, and it's a bit like gospel. So he orders Benjamin Button to stand up. Believe in God, stand up, use his power, drop the crutches, drop the wheelchair, stand up and walk on your own feet, I command you. God gives you power to do that, I command you. Like you can see in some video clips from the States. So this is this kind of preaching and giving energy. Well, you know what they say, desperate times call for desperate measures, and as long as something works, so why not, you know? After all, it's about believing in something. So if you believe that this gives you power to stand up, to become full-bodied again, so why not? As long as it helps, right? And it doesn't hurt anybody. And in this case, well, he has stood up from his wheelchair, as you can see. And you may fall flat on your face, but it's about standing up and putting up a fight, isn't it?
Said, rise up! Yes. Come on. Say hallelujah.
As always, guys, thank you very much for your attention. I hope you have enjoyed this short video review. If you have enjoyed it, so please give this video the thumbs up, share it with your friends, comment on the film itself. Also, please tell me whether you like it, whether you are planning on watching it, or maybe it's a no-go, never again. Maybe you find it boring and tedious. unlike myself, so please let me know in the comment section. And if you are not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, because it helps in growing the channel more and spreading the good word about cinematography, about cinema, about films. So my passion, and this YouTube channel is a pet project of mine, so it's nothing more but a mere hobby, but I would like to spread the good word, and especially if we have also such a touching and moving film, so I think it's worth recommending. And if you have such an interesting film made with a big splendor and panache, so it's even better, because it's a match made in heaven, everything in there, a mixed bag, right?
Daisy and a friend would have crossed the street.
So this is what I love about those grand epics. There is the big budget, there is the scenery, the decorations, the directorship, great acting, great cast, recognizable names, just everything is there. So once again, thank you very much for your attention, and I will catch you up later, next time. Cheers, bye. And here's the mandatory Jean-Claude Van Damme's pose. Cheers. During the Catherine presented from the point of view of the story is presented. Their tugboat is of no match. So in this case, also budget